either way, let me ask you. So we got to zoom out on this thing. It's been a weird few days, obviously, within Hex, and it's been a weird few months in everything with crypto. But where do we go now from here with Hex? Because I am operating, and I put a video out the day after, yesterday, I guess it would have been after the Hex conference on my channel. That people just need to now. I don't care what people do. I personally am moving on and operating. Like, I don't know when PulseChain is going to be out. I don't really care that much at this point. I always make the comparison to the last, I'm a huge Tool fan, obviously the 13-year gap between their last two albums, and how all of this seems so familiar to me because I was going through it like with my favorite band for years, like, on forums literally in 2009, reading about work on the new album, and it came out in 2019. So I understand what it's like to be like waiting for something.
I hope we don't have to wait 10 years, man.
You're going to have to wait 10 years. No, I wasn't like financially over leveraged in the new Tool album or anything like that. But I just, I'm not worried about PulseChain now. You, much like myself, I think, sacrificed an amount to PulseChain that you were willing to lose. I was fine with what I did, but I know a lot of people aren't. I think you just got to forget about it and move on right now. I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm not interested in, I personally, I know you might be Ewok. I'm not interested in like all these Twitter updates with devs talk and stuff like that, and just constant hanging on about when this thing is going to come out. I like Hex. That's where this all came from. I think Hex is a brilliant idea. I'm invested in it, obviously. I'm looking forward to buying more of it, staking more of it. That is the biggest value proposition to me. I'm not as worried about PulseChain. But let me know your thoughts. I mean, like short term, what do you think like the price action goes? What's your attitude towards this?
Well, I think that the longer we go without some sort of V3 announcement, the longer we go before the price pumps. And I kind of think you saw a hint of that before the conference. People were trying to front run it just in case there was, because I think once that announcement happens. Now, here's another thing too, just real quick. I don't know, because V2B is still part of that BSC fork that they had been working on. Are we going to get a V3 or is it going to be a V1?
Yeah, I've been seeing people say that. Yeah,
it's a good question. I do like the updates from the devs, even if I don't, like I think I said this before, even if I don't really know what it means, there's going to be somebody there on Twitter or wherever that can break it down and tell us, well, this means this, this means this is what they're doing here. I like to hear that stuff. I like updates of any kind because we're really, again, not getting many from Richard other than it's not ready yet. How much are they allowed to say though too? So
sure,
then it becomes more of a speculation game on the GitHub or GitLab or whatever it is of, okay, this person was in here. So that kind of stuff, it's like stalking the GitLab to see who made the last commit or whatever.
People did that on Phantom. Yeah, when Andre Cronje suddenly came back. Yeah, that's what happened with Phantom too. Everybody was like going.
Well, that was a little different. You had a guy who left the project, possibly,
yes,
and then came back. So that was some, excitement. We don't know much about these devs. At least I don't know much about them. I don't think it's stopped. Like I really just don't think. I think there's too much still reputation on the line to just stop and not complete a project. I just don't. I don't even see that as an option yet. I could be wrong, but I hope not. But that's my take on it. I like the updates from the devs, but the price is going to pay for the lack of announcements or the lack of something happening. People are just getting tired. So
that's why I messaged you earlier today, and I think I've seen this sentiment from some other people too. But like I know you've been around Hex longer than I have, but like at this point, I'm not even like, I almost am like, in a weird way, you almost wish that PulseChain wasn't even an upcoming thing, because we're seeing all this wavering of the price and the price going down with Richard's every move and every single thing he says, and it's all reliant on PulseChain. It has really nothing to do with Hex as a product and how good of a product it is. I mean, to me, it's one of the biggest opportunities there is right now in crypto. And yeah, obviously a part of that and a huge catalyst is the fact that we're going to get a copy and PulseChain and all this stuff. But I feel like it's just detracting from what Hex is. And it's still so young in terms of a product itself that I think people are losing sight of how good Hex is, and they're just talking about PulseChain constantly. What did Brisology say?
Yeah, Brisology brings up a really good point in his theory or somebody's theory, but he said giving updates might make the final product fail a leg of the Howey test, as it looks like work is being done for the benefit of others. He then went on to say, Richard said before, do you know how much more money I could raise if I could promise you all the things? So something to think about there too. Which I didn't think about if he did make announcements or promises of what they're doing. You're right. It could possibly fail a leg of the Howey test. So
yeah, that's a great
didn't
point.
think about that. Great point, Brisology. I appreciate it.
That's a great point too. Yeah, I think he has to be really careful with a lot of this stuff. And I will say this, regardless of what does happen, or if it does become more difficult to do the grand plan that Richard had for PulseChain, or if the SEC is or isn't, or kinda is breathing down his neck, I do trust Richard to do the right thing. For people that are invested in his products ultimately. I mean, I really do. So I have no real doubts there. I'd be shocked if he didn't. So, I think we can take solace in that no matter what. I don't think people have many reasons to worry there or anything. So I got to say, I was really surprised by this. I like to get just sometimes people think the polls that I put on my YouTube channel at Boi Crypto are a little bit weird or something, because sometimes they'll have overwhelming results one way or the other. But it's my way sometimes of trying to test sentiment or people's opinion on something. And I literally just asked today, what do you care about more, Hex or PulseChain? And it's well over 100 votes in, and it's actually 56-44 PulseChain. I don't know if that. What do you make of that? I mean, to me, I'm 100% the opposite. I get it. ETH fees suck and stuff like that. And maybe now that you know what Pulse is, but I would much rather have Hex still be around. And to me, that's the foundation of what all this was really built on.
Sure.
But
that's why Pulse was built, to eliminate those gas fees. I think what the results of your poll are showing you, though, is when people got in.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that a lot of people missed the beginning of Hex. They think they're too late. I don't think they're too late. I think it's still very, very, very early. We are still working in T-shares. For those of you who don't know, it won't be T-shares forever. Eventually here, maybe not too long, depending on the price, T-shares will be a thing of the past for anybody that doesn't have at least six figures in your wallet. So it's going to be B shares is what we're going to be referring to, I really think. And these people are not too late. There's still enough meat on the bone, and Richard designed it that way, that there would always be meat on the bone for the new people. So I think that's what you're seeing. I think that's what the poll results are more reflecting than anything. Is that people probably got in for PulseChain, maybe more than they should have, and aren't seeing any gains. So
I think you're right. Yeah,
that's why they care so much.
I think you're 100% right, because it's going to be it's all about your wallet. What are you more financially tied to? And you're right. Yeah, it might be people that more so sacrifice for these. And if they are that new and all they did was sack for Pulse X or maybe a little bit for Pulse, chances are you're extremely down on your Hex bag. You know what I mean? But I think if you have the education of knowing what the product is and it being out there, and the fact that it's only one cycle in, like you said, we're still really early with Hex. That's really what my focus would be on.
Yeah, I mean, somebody brought it up the other day about what if you had bought Bitcoin at 30 and it got down to 2 and you sold because you thought it was going to 0? How would you feel? So I mean, compare that to people leaving the markets now in Hex at 2 cents after they bought at 48 or whatever, 50 cents, 45, 50 cents, whatever they bought at. It's a very eerily close number and comparison. You know, yeah, there's cents and dollars, but it's still very similar.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting few weeks. I mean, people didn't necessarily get what they want out of the Hex conference, but I agree with you. We need to look at the silver lining here. I'm not worrying about Pulse. I'm really just concerned with Hex DCing into that continuously at these great prices that we have on it right now, in my opinion. And like you said, Ewok, hey, this is the best community. Hex is the best community in crypto. I mean, like, it's hands down, no negotiation. I mean, it was awesome to, regardless of whether you watched much of the conference or not, it was awesome to see that kind of a turnout. There was, I think, over like 5K or so, 4 or 5K people on whenever Richard came on Monday night. It was pretty late. So, yeah, I mean,
during a bear market.
Again, not only during a bear market, but like, once again, look at these other communities. What other community is doing that? There's not
none.
You can count them on less than one hand. I mean, maybe on like who's that defensive lineman that blew Jason Pierre-Paul's hand. A few fingers.
Somebody had compared it to there was another coin that recently did a conference, and with their overall view, I forget who it was.
Yeah, I do too. I think I know what you're talking about, though. Was it Cardano? Nah, it's probably just me making that up. Never mind.
No, maybe it was. I don't remember who it was. Brasology says, "Where's the Cardano conference?"
Exactly.
But
yeah.
I don't know who it was, but either way, I think after even a week or so, they might have had 300 or 600 views total. And we were pulling that on live streams, and that was not the rewatch or anything like that afterwards. So, and then when, like you said, when Richard came on, it was between 4,000 and 5,000, pretty solid the whole time.
Yeah.
And trying to moderate that chat was a little bit crazy. Let me just tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the silver lining of this that I think people need to be focusing on instead of, dumping the price and worrying about PulseChain. I mean, it is what it is. Your money is gone. You sacrificed it. So remember that. And, it's a good lesson for you for next time. So